Hi and welcome back to PMC Knives and Tools. Sorry for the gap between videos lately. I've had quite a lot going on and been too busy to film, and the odd chance that I've gotten to film I've not had the motivation because I've been exhausted. So, quick video today just to talk about a couple of tools here. Now both of these have been on my channel before, and we'll get into them a little bit here. So this one here is the Spyderco Roadie. It's a UK legal slip joint knife. These are made in Maniago, Italy for Spyderco, and they're in N690 CO steel. And this is the Benchmade Weekender. These are also UK legal, I believe. I haven't measured the main blade in a while, but I'm sure it is. And it's got the smaller blade, which definitely is. So this also comes with a little bottle opener there, which I've always found a bit of a weird style with the green micarta scales there. So the Benchmade Weekender and the Spyderco Roadie are two that I've had for quite some time. The Weekender in particular I've owned for several years now, and the Roadie, I don't know, 6 months or so. And neither has really flipped my switch. The Weekender in particular I've wanted to like, but it just hasn't kind of done it for me, and I can't really see why. You know, sometimes you get a knife and you think, oh, there's a particular reason why I don't like it. For example, the Spyderco Roadie I feel is too thick behind the edge. No matter how many, and you know, I don't want you to have to reprofile the entire thickness of the blade, because that would ruin the heat treatment. It's too thick behind the edge to be really slicey. So something like an equivalent knife, like a Swiss Army knife, like I've got here, the Waiter, a very similar size and style, is a heck of a lot slicier and does the exact same thing better. So that's why the Spyderco Roadie kind of doesn't sit in my pocket. The Weekender though, it's well built, it's stylish, it's relatively comfortable in the hand, and it does slice well. It's made of really good stuff as well, micarta and S30V. I just don't, I'm not sure, I can't, maybe it's the size, it is quite chunky in the pocket. It's just never really done it for me. So, not bad knives either of them, but they haven't really flipped my switch. So these are going to go in a parcel to a friend of mine, a guy called Brian, who also has a YouTube channel, and his is a lot bigger and more successful than mine. His is called Dark Night Tales. Now, Dark Night Tales is a horror narration, sort of creepypasta, scary story channel, and I highly recommend that you go and check out Brian's channel, Dark Night Tales. It is very, very satisfying stuff. Lots of spooky atmospheric tales that you can listen to. And Brian mentioned to me the other day that he needs a new pocket knife, so I'm going to pop these in the post across the Atlantic to Brian. I don't think I'll send him my Victorinox Waiter, because I still like that. What I might send them though, and I haven't quite decided yet, but I may well, is this Bibury multi-tool. Now this is a Chinese knockoff of the Leatherman, is it the T4? Which was kind of Leatherman's competitor to Victorinox Swiss Army knives. I've had this one for a couple of months now, and 2 or 3 months. I bought it brand new. It'd been in my Amazon basket for a while at like £40, and then I got a message from Amazon one day to say, oh, this is down to £28 if you buy it today. So I did, and since I got it, it just hasn't, a bit like the Weekender, hasn't really turned me on. It just hasn't really given me the fizz, hasn't really flipped my switch. It's well built, it's got no obvious flaws. I like the fact that it has the 1/4 inch bit driver, bit exchanger. You know, that's useful. Got a little bit of rust there even though it's brand new. You can still see the machine oil on it. It comes with the little tiny glass breaker here, and little tiny tweezers here, which is very kind of Victorinox-esque, isn't it? Got a deep carry pocket clip. You know, got a pretty fairly well laid out tool set. I quite like this. The awl is actually like a chisel ground pen blade. That's a nice touch, I would use that. But it just hasn't kind of, I don't know, it hasn't spoken to me. The older I get, the more I'm getting kind of set in my ways, and I need my tools to kind of satisfy me straight away. To, you know, I don't like to kind of when I was a younger man, I'd like to play around with them and take my time getting used to them. Now, if it doesn't kind of appeal to me straight out of the box, I'm probably never going to use it. And I'm also trying to make my collection a bit smaller as I get older. So this might well find its way across the Atlantic to Brian over in Florida as well. So it's a fairly well built copy of the Leatherman T4, but and it again has the advantage over Leatherman because it's got the 1/4 inch bit driver here. But it just hasn't really flipped my switch. I can't really explain it any better than that. Like the Benchmade Weekender, I just can't say one way or the other why. Just hasn't. It's got one-handed opening blade, hollow grind, sort of a drop point blade, V-edge. You still see all the machine oil on it there. I have stropped it slightly because when it came out of the box it had a little ding, just a little tiny roll about 2/3 of the way up the blade here. Just enough that it would snag on a piece of paper. So stropped that out, but otherwise I haven't done much with it. Yeah, a nice tool, but just hasn't quite jumped out at me. So for example, the Spyderco Roadie, the Benchmade Weekender and the Bibury, can't remember the product number, let's just call it the T4, given that's what it's based on, have all been less time in my pocket than the very simple, very small Victorinox waiter. So that probably tells a story by itself. So whatever the invisible criteria that are in my brain that I can't quite explain, that make the Weekender and the T4 not quite jump out at me, the waiter fulfills, because it's small, it's light, it's practical. The Spyderco Roadie I do like in terms of construction, size, weight, feel. I just don't like that it's so thick behind the edge on a flat piece of steel, flat grind with a V-edge. That's the only reason. I think the Warncliffe's pretty cool. I think the fact that it's such a stout, chunky little blade is cool. It's just not quite super duper slicey for me. So Brian at Dark Knight Tales, keep an eye on your local postman because you'll be carrying a parcel with you which will have at least these two and probably this in it as well, I'd imagine. But not this, I'm keeping this. Quick channel update, I have been working for ages on a knife build, a Damascus fixed blade. I have done probably 2/3 of the work on it and have filmed it already, but I then got too busy in life to finish it off, so I will need to finish that off, and I've got a couple other bits, outdoorsy bits that I'm working on as well. So I'll get those finished and edited and get them uploaded soon. I know you're all absolutely desperate to hear what I've been up to and probably crying yourselves to sleep at night, wondering, where's Peter at PMC Knives and Tools? What's he been up to? Or not. Anyway, cheers guys, stay safe, stay sharp, and don't forget to check out Brian's channel, Dark Knight Tales. I will link it below. Cheers.